Hey,
Yeah,
what are you doing, man? That thing, you can't just be dropping those.
I just fumbled it a little bit. Why can't you drop it?
They'll go off.
It can go off.
They're not drop safe.
You know how many ARs I've seen dropped? Like, what do you mean not drop
Just
safe?
because it doesn't do it every time doesn't mean it's not, that you can just drop them, that they won't go off.
So you're
They
saying,
go off all the time on their own anyway, people say.
listen,
And then you drop it, you know it'll go off.
I'm pretty sure no matter how many times I do that, that gun is not going to go off that.
That's not what they tell me.
Who tells you?
They.
They? Who's they?
They're the ones that matter.
All right. Comment below. Like, who do you think's right here? Are AR-15s drop
The
safe?
firing pin, it can hit the thing and make the thing go off.
Ooh. Floating firing pin.
Everybody knows that because the pin's just bouncing around in there on its own willy-nilly, just doing whatever it wants.
It is free floated firing pin.
It is.
You're correct on that. That's, I mean, we're dealing in fact there. So you guys comment below, which side of this debate do you land on? Is an AR-15 drop safe or is it not? Stay tuned and see some of the testing we're going to do to determine that. Hello everybody, Lewis and Thad with Tactical Response. We're out here on the range today to make a video exploring in greater detail a short that Thad had made for us, which spawned from a conversation we had with someone at SHOT Show about what happens when you rechamber a round, or basically if you load your rifle, in AR-15 specifically, if it's loaded and you unload it the not fun way, right?
Yeah,
the wrong way.
The quiet way.
The quiet way. And you rack that round out, you'll notice there's a slight dimple there on the primer. Does that mean, and so you posed a question in that short, right?
Yeah, my question is, what was brought to me was that someone thought that that's what had happened, but we didn't know if it was a gun malfunction or what it could have been that caused it. Like, we don't believe finger on trigger necessarily, because if you had it pinned to the back and chamber it, it's not going to go off because the trigger hadn't reset and all that.
And this is some nuance that everybody, they're going to tear into the comments and not understand what we're talking about there as well. But
I'm sorry. So basically, AR-15 floating firing pin. So it's just sitting in there jiggling. When you chamber around, it bounces. It makes a little light mark on the back of the primer, not enough to set it off. And then if you, for whatever reason, you are kicking a round out, whether it's to do like dry fire or whatever manipulations, learning the gun, if you're an officer and guns and crews are ready, you pull it out, you chamber it, you go, nothing really happens, you take it out, you kick that round out, put it back on top of the magazine, for whatever reason. I don't normally do that.
Yeah.
Like, very few of my ARs, I mean, they stay loaded pretty much.
Right. And so there's a couple questions there. Right, once that round comes out of the gun that has already been chambered, what should be done with it? Right. Should it be put back on the top of the magazine? Should it be buried down in the magazine? Should it be tossed in a training pile of ammo? Right. So we're not getting into that in this video here.
So, but when I did that short, what it brought up was all this other shit.
Right.
The setback of the bullet, whether the bullet gets loose, and all that shit, like, may be possible or is. I'm not saying that in this. What I'm talking about is if you rechamber around in an AR-15 over and over, will it eventually go off? I don't know that it will. And I've talked to several people who all say it's a thing, but have never experienced it and don't know anyone that has. And I've asked several people in the know, like, that know, you know, and sometimes there's the I heard but I never witnessed it, or I was told, and because technically firing pin can make contact, so it could possibly have a potential maybe a primer's weird or something. I don't know.
And again, we're not talking about dropping guns out of helicopters here and landing on the muzzle and that having the inertia to cause.
Yeah, we're technically not even talking about drop safe.
Yeah,
really.
well, the only thing we're considering here, or what we want to test, is how many racks is it going to take, and
to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like will we eventually get enough impact on that primer to set it off, or is that inertia that the firing pin has with the energy from the buffer spring, is that alone enough to set this gun go off
In small intervals.
Right.
Of doing it.
So we're going to get at it. It's going to require a lot of racking, and I'm guessing that we'll speed that up and have a total number of chambers counter here down in the corner. And stay tuned, see what we find. I mean, I've seen videos where they say on the first time, like, bolt goes home, boom, gun goes off on this bullpup.
I'm not going to say that that's not possible. If you had something like a primer not seated all the way or something, maybe it could. I know of somebody that has said that they have witnessed that, and they're pretty reputable. That's a different thing, though.
All right, so we're going to get into this test. I think Thad's going to do the heavy lifting on racking the rounds until he wears out, and then I'll be trying to catch that round, stuff it back in the magazine to give him to send home again. All right, and we are going to do it the proper way of charging a gun, running the charging handle all the way to the rear, letting it go, so that will have a greater force effect than if we, there's people that hit like a thingy on the gun to load it. There's more force in that last little bit of spring compression, so we're going to give it the full go and see what happens.
And we're going to do it on a couple different rounds. A couple of the same ones, so that like pairs of. Okay. So that maybe, and this is a small sample.
Small sample size.
It's some all different stuff.
What do you got?
These are all 223. We'll throw a 5.56 in there. They've got a little harder cup on the primer.
I do have a round of Defiant 5.56, the TCX, like by far the best defensive round you can put in your
That
AR.
One's noticeable. Some of these others are kind of noticeable, but it's not I don't believe it's an ammo manufacturer problem.
Right, but I could see like someone having Defiant in their gun on their nightstand, but then go into a training class.
Our guys probably have those and take them out and back in.
We've got a couple different rounds.
There's about 6 or 7 in there. We're just going to rack through them.
He's going to rack through them. I'm going to try and reload them into this mag as quickly as I can catch them, get them in, so that we can get maximum cycles through the gun and see if we're silly for not wearing ear pro.
Yeah, I don't know. When's it going to be?
Only one way to find out.
What has happened?
That didn't work. I got 3.
I've already had a malfunction, but not the one we were looking for.
Oh, look what you got.
What? Oh.
All right, here, you load those up.
I'm going to finish this.
Camera. So that round, whatever it is not super high quality.
That was a straight up 223 bought off the shelf. One I sent a velocity over.
That's not one of the ones you hand loaded while you were drinking?
No, that's not one of Bubba's pissing hot reloads. All of those have marks on the back of them.
So we got slight dimples on every one of those rounds. Wait.
I think I'm trying to.
You're short stroking. You're riding it home. You're racking too fast. One at a time, and I'll backstop it. There we go. There we go.
You're right. I was riding it. Don't ride it.
We're working the system out here.
They're normally making noise when I'm putting the mag in, and somewhere along the line, someone else is.
There you go. All right. So again, just
And I'm not holding this like I normally do.
yeah. So crank it towards support towards the end. All right. So yep, I got dimples.
Are they getting any?
I'm gonna start inspecting them each time through.
They're looking about the same to me.
It doesn't look like they're getting any bigger, deeper, and I'm not getting any like ghost, like a second dimple.
Yeah, they're all in the same spot.
It's all in the same spot. It looks like it's been chambered once. Yep, I'm not seeing any difference. How's it going in? Aside from that first one, that had major setback problem. It doesn't look like there's any setback. I'm keeping an eye on that stuff as well. I am noticing some scratches on some of these the full metal jacket rounds.
So that's feed ramp stuff.
That's feed ramp stuff. Not noticeable on the Defiant Munitions TCX, right?
Yeah.
So no damage to the bullet on the Defiant on multiple rackings. How many times through is that?
That's only like 4 or 5, isn't it?
I don't know.
3, 4, 5.
Hey, Shelton, you're gonna have to run that counter every time that mag
6
goes.
hours of Shelton counting this. That's what we're talking about.
So, at this point, I'd be okay with saying it's probably not gonna happen the second time you chamber something.
No.
Alright.
We're being rough enough on them. I'm seeing some dents and stuff in the casings, and
some dents and
I mean
and
they're getting
scrapes on the
scratched all
casing.
shit. Are we running short here? Oh, there's one down there. There's another. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And we've even dented that one. I think there was one of those that was dented.
Yeah, a little bit. It might have been.
Well, when it goes off this time in chambering, it'll puff it back out.
Same thing?
Yeah, we're on the same spot still.
It looks like this one starting to get maybe a little wear through the full metal jacket.
No, these were some 223 bought off the shelf. They were soft point.
Okay.
There's 2 of them in there. A major brand.
Yep.
6.5 hours later.
So the one thing I'm noticing, other than just the scratches and all that wear, is the rims.
Are starting to get chewed up a little bit from the extractor.
Yeah. All the rims are gone. I'm gonna pass my finger this way. This one.
Like brand new.
Oh, that's brown light. That one's our gas deal. There we go.
Yep.
2,000 years later.
I'm not seeing any more. Like, that's one of the things I really thought once, because you're only going to get so much energy out of that spring.
Yeah, and it's weird, like some of them look like as you spin it, it looks like that primer strike may be just a hair off center.
Yeah.
So you would expect to see it get bigger or...
Well, there's room in there for the firing pin to move because it's able to free float and bounce in and out. So there's a little bit of slop. So when it hits that divot, it's going to center itself. I think what we're seeing is kind of what I thought would happen eventually. So the end of that firing pin is rounded, and the first ding, it goes in so far, like driving a punch, and then you drive it again. You can only drive that punch so deep with that amount, however much energy you can put with a hammer, when it starts getting enough surface area that it's taking and able to support that energy, if I'm saying this right. I'm not an engineer. But
I get what you're saying.
you're going to get to a certain point, you're not going to see any more with that. Now, if you do something to up that energy, it'll start going deeper again, like a hammer with a spring that's meant to make them go off. Something along that lines. But
Dude, your aim on the ejection pattern there was spot on.
Yeah.
You're getting better. You're getting there.
The consistency and control. So one of the other things with some of these, this round here with the cantilever, the little notchy line, and if you'll notice, the brass itself has been crimped in these. So even that one that I drove in, I think might have been one of these. I'm not sure, but some of these from being chambered and hitting several times, this was in some of the comments, and I believe it can happen over and over. Eventually you're putting pressure on that as it's hitting in the ramps and going in, and it's loosening the brass. So we may end up with like a bullet coming out eventually. Now, already we're something about yeah. Now we're doing those.
Several bad puns later.
Yeah. If you guys want a tactical response,
So
coffee mug, they're available on the site.
they got the thinker on them. They're on the shelf in the store. It's not the same as you do. No, not definitely. There's an angle here that needs to be effective. Yeah. I'll find it. No, you can't the way everybody's probably going to be in that. It's not this awkward. I mean, they're looking pretty fucking beat up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some scrapes, but like in terms of between chambering number 5 and number 25, I haven't seen much more.
I haven't either.
Right? Or maybe it's just not noticeable at that point.
Oh, yeah. There is potential. Yeah. Someone's going to say there's potential up here. No, that's true. Right? Yeah. So. See, I'm trying to get them to you like as if one you probably have a mag. I don't know. Like these soft points, it's almost like it's sharpening the lead of a pencil.
Yeah. Oh, now they're AP.
Because they're sharper?
Yeah.
That's all you got to do? Is just sharpen them more?
I seen it in a movie. The guy who was filing the tips of his bullets.
Yeah.
Right?
Eventually.
I might be wrong at this point. What? Like, it should still happen. But I don't think
Okay. Yeah. You know what I realized? We saw that starting handle.
Yeah, it's not good enough.
Well, I prefer the blacklist. The black ones are trees. Maybe a little bit more gear to play with.
Yeah, I don't know.
Rather than the saw blade in the middle, the thin saw blade.
Yeah, it's a little bit here.
It does.
So we probably got parts of all the stuff. This one, Jill?
Yeah, on your case, it's with a stainless rim.
So they're using stainless. Yep. It's glossy.
Yeah, glossy.
They're lighter. And like the next I can do it though. I did that.
Yeah, it looks like it's almost 2 pieces or 2 thicknesses of powder as well. There's something there in the shoulder.
I think the phone case will be the next real thing. Like that is already, but I think it's going to be the next one. I think it's the next thing makes a big thing looking.
Yeah, and then it'll require some advancements in the design.
I'm sure we're talking to those guys and but I know Brill. I think it's yeah,
Brill's been making it work on that stuff for a while for that stuff.
But we're able to change the bottom of the case to stainless to brass. I think that's where you're going to see a big gain. On the ability to put new start speed.
Well, pressure, yeah, you get higher pressure. That's where you're going to probably case. Somewhere down the rim, right? Still kind of all tight in the neck. So Thad's
one neck is a little bit loose. The other one's still really tight. This one is loose. This one is loose. Like these were
but no
crimped.
setback, right?
Well, I think that has to do with the crimp on these.
Okay.
So these have a crimp. I don't know if I can get this in the camera. The brass at that cantilever, it does have a little crimp to it. I don't know if that even panned out for you guys.
Well, we'll bring these back to the studio and we'll get some
tight.
close shots of them.
One's loose. The one that I don't, the Defiant, I haven't, like, yeah, I can get, it's starting to get there too. but it stayed the tightest the longest, I believe. I mean, we're starting to get to a ridiculous number anyway, as far as I'm concerned.
Do not, I will say, do not chamber and rechamber any single round as many times as we've done this.
Yeah, we know in pistol ammo that a few times and you're going to have setback, typically.
Ready? Also, guys, on this, so this is a Midwest pistol. Testing out this Vortex AMG UH1. They call it the Huey. Pretty cool optic. It's proven to be pretty tough so far. Also testing out this set mount, which allows mounting M-lock of a tourniquet pouch of your choice. They have them for TK4 and smaller tourniquets, and they also have them in sizes for cat tourniquets out there somewhere on the rifle.
Tell me about that Holliston.
Yep. So the Vortex is
that was bad.
No,
I'm terrible with names. You guys know this.
It's a Vortex. It's their version of the EOTech. So it's a holographic versus a red dot, right?
Gotcha.
So better night vision capabilities with holographic sight.
Yeah.
Pretty clear reticle.
Is it?
I like it. I really like it's got a triangle as the bottom hash on the circle. So it's got a circle with a dot, but then it has hash marks at 12, 3, and 9. And then down at 6, it's got a little triangle. So as far as using it as like your up close point of aim, you know, to alleviate offset issues, pretty cool. A nice big window. I think it's a pretty good optic.
So you've got a couple different like drop on it.
What's that?
You've got a lower mark though. You said that was a V.
Yeah.
So that you've got different. That's all right. We'll get to that in a little bit. Oh, okay. Keep going.
Well,
no, wait a minute.
Nothing's going to feed. I'm going to need a rod.
So,
I'm pretty sure.
What happened is a bullet came out. It's probably in the barrel.
Something happened.
So I've heard of one other person doing this test, like taking around and doing this 100 times.
There's also a case in the...
So you've got one in and a bullet in front of it.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to send it home to try and extract that.
No.
You want to rod it all?
Yeah. So we will probably cut this.
All right, everybody. So we rodded out that...
So here's the round.
Stuck.
We've got the case. Powder's dumped out. There's the bullet. The next one came through and came in from behind, snuck up on.
Yeah.
Drove it in.
So we had a failure on the Defiant, but not due to
what we were wanting, and not really a failure. It wasn't a Defiant
right.
fault.
I mean, the bullet is set back at this point. We're going to remove it from the testing, but it's not the fault of the Defiant ammo. It's the fact that it got loaded in where there was already another bullet.
Yep. So, like, look at the wear on this thing just from however many times we've done it. I don't know how many times we've done it, but it's getting up there.
All right. We'll give it like 2 more, and if my ears aren't ringing,
we'll give some more, and I'll hop over there and we can kick out more. We'll do it a few more times, just real fast.
Yeah, I guess. Again, bunch of different kinds of ammo, potentially some different primers in there, material. So we tried to make a decent sample size so it couldn't be blamed on any one particular ammunition. But it seems like...
You want me to jump over there? Let's switch out.
I'm cool with still running.
All right.
I just don't know how.
So
if we're actually learning anything.
I don't know that we are at this point, other than just for the comments.
Yeah, I think.
I think the only way this is possible is if it's a primer that has had a problem of some sort. And I don't think, I think at best you'll see it on the first or second time you chamber one.
Yeah.
I've done a fair amount of reloading. I've had one primer out of thousands and thousands of primers of different makes, whether it be Remington's primers, CCIs, Federals. I've had one of them go off while I was priming it, and it actually had gotten turned sideways, and I kind of smashed it funny, and it went off and came up through the case, made my ears ring. No one found it. It's silly. Come here. I somehow got turned there. I know they got the handle off.
At this point, to have an ND, you got to do something more than chamber around a number of times.
I'm sure most of us have seen, and this was in the comments too on it. We've seen people or done it ourselves that have had a round not go off with a full good primer strike, and they rechamber it and it goes off.
Right. You're talking about dropping the hammer a second time.
Yeah, like chambering it, pulling the trigger, then it go off, and pick it up, throw it back in the gun, it goes off.
Right.
And that's a bad primer, but it did eventually work. So, I mean, it still didn't do it whenever, because every one of these that's loaded is gonna have, this one's gonna do it next, I think.
12 seconds later.
But a cumulative effect of that tiny ding doesn't seem to be getting us to the point where the one smack of the hammer would.
Correct. No, it does, and it's not, I would venture to say that it hasn't, the ding in this hasn't gotten any worse. It's reached a certain point. I don't think it's changing. I mean, I'm going to go with these are the same because the dent that's in it is greater than in these two. And these two, in fact, are the same round. So they probably got a little lighter thing, but I don't think they're getting any more.
Yeah.
They did for a little bit, but not greatly.
Yeah.
So.
And it looks like that true velocity, the primer material might be a little bit tougher than some of those other ones.
So and I might get the number wrong, but I believe it's like the CCI number 41 is like a mil spec. So like 5.56 will have a harder cut. They'll have a harder cup in them, so they're not going to be as prone to take that. It's just the way they were spec'd out, so they take a little harder hit. I thought maybe one of these bullets would fail, and that's about the point where the cartridge would fail. I mean, how long are we going to do this?
I'm good with calling this myth busted.
Do you have ear protection?
I do have ear protection.
Why don't you go get some? Let's just see if they're going to shoot now.
All right.
I mean, the soft points, they've wore off the point. I mean, they're about gone.
So before we shoot, before we try and attempt to shoot these using the hammer or using the trigger and the hammer here, do you think we should go like Mythbusters on it? And
you want to see what it would take to get it without pulling the trigger?
Yeah. Let's see if that's a possibility.
What might you have in mind? Because I've got an idea.
Well,
3 hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
All right, everybody. So Thad's got our test contraption.
This was a quick makeshift.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is...
We are fully set, ready for the next episode of Somewhere Between Jackass and Mythbusters.
Yeah, this could go horribly wrong.
And we're here to find out.
If it goes terribly wrong, you guys probably won't see it. We've got one of the rounds that we kept chambering.
Yep.
So it's got the ding in the end, and then I've got another new one of it. And the one that we picked was the one that had the deepest ding. So this is kind of getting into drop safe stuff instead of just the chambering over and over thing. So what we've got is we've got the bolt assembly only, and I've got a little, yeah, and we're gonna send it in hard, like a little harder than what I think the spring will do, and see if that firing pin doesn't get a little more energy and maybe enough to go off. And we're only going to try this a few times.
And again, on the drop safe issue, right? Bolt would already be home, and they think that the firing pin would have enough inertia just in that little bit of travel.
Yeah.
We're multiplying that quite a bit.
Yeah, like the cruiser ready is in case it's in a car wreck, I believe is the thing with it, right?
Yeah.
So if they're in a crash,
but cruiser ready, the bolt carrier group would already be home.
it would already be forward, and the only movement we're talking about is, and I don't know that I can convey this from here, but is that, like, you're talking about
mils.
I mean, well, for us Americans, I'm going to go with probably less than 3/16 of an inch.
All right, fair.
It looks more like about an eighth, but who's counting? This is...
Said I told her it was 3/16.
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to start here. I'm going to put this in the chamber.
And I'm going to go ahead and get the hell away from you.
Get
for a
back?
minute. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't think I want to be directly behind it, and maybe not directly that way. But I just want to see if it'll go off. And if I don't get a good square hit, it might be because I'm a little bit wondering if this would happen or not.
Yeah, and that is the one that has been chambered a whole bunch, right?
Correct. Yep, it's been chambered over and over. So, all right. I'm just gonna whack it, see if it goes off. So, and it will.
How about that?
So, cruiser ready if it's got one way back there.
So, yeah, definitely. If you're going to be cruiser ready, right, or unchambered, don't have a loaded mag with the bolt to lock to the rear. Now you got to try and extract it. What just happened made me think again, something else we can test when we're here. So, all right, we're going to do this again with a round that has not been chambered as of yet.
Correct.
Right? And
the new out of the box.
And then I've got some more same ammo, new out of the box. I want to try and chamber one with the bolt carrier group home.
And do it.
And see what kind of whacking it's going to take.
All right. I'll be honest. I was a little surprised. I didn't think it was going to go off.
Me either.
I really didn't. I didn't think there would be enough.
Especially if you guys saw, the practice swings. I mean, it was kind of like Thad was hitting it with a purse. I was like, it's definitely not going to go off.
I was working out exactly how aggressive to go.
Well, I think you found the proper level of aggression. So just match that.
All right. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, clear.
I actually didn't quite hit it as hard that time.
Yeah.
So.
And they extracted a little easier.
Yep.
All right.
That's kind of interesting.
So now let's load one in.
Yeah.
Right?
Load it in, run it home.
All right.
Okay, it's loaded like the thing.
So if we were cruiser ready right now, bolt home, one in the chamber. Sorry. No. If we were not cruiser ready, if we were just loaded with the safety on.
If we were carrying it like I do.
Right. Safety on, one in the chamber, right? Will impact of just that little bit of movement of the firing pin be able to set it off.
Right, and I would like to see where the firing pin is, but let's try it. You ready? Mm-hmm.
Take a bite off your hammer?
No, that's some of the mount holding it. So I was getting a little more aggressive each time with it.
I gotcha.
And I've actually slid the whole thing forward. So I don't think it's going to do it like this.
Yeah.
6 hours later.
And I mean, we whacked on it hard
I've
enough
destroyed
to pull screws out.
Yeah.
Again, is the AR-15 drop safe? Comment below. What do you think? I mean, physics-wise, I understand.
I believed it, as we all know, very improbable if you've got a round chamber that you can make the gun go off.
Yeah.
I've got a couple other ideas I might invest in some time and effort, and maybe I don't know yet. I haven't decided. We might continue on with that a little bit for. We might reenact a car crash.
Yeah.
A little more.
Let us know if you're interested in seeing that. You know, getting a more realistic reenactment of a car crash with an AR-15. If there's interest in it, Thad's got an idea, but it seems like it would take quite a bit of time and energy into
I've got one more
getting
thing
the setup going.
Before we're done.
Oh yeah, let's see. Did those go
So
off?
we already know these could go off potentially. They're all beat up.
You want to try them in,
Might as well
a regular AR?
Let's stick them. I happen to have right here a Midwest Industries Tactical Response. What, 25th anniversary?
Yeah, you got one of those fancy
Rifle?
25th. Actually, you lent me that rifle to shoot the tactical games with, right?
Yeah, the one that I kind of stuck it to you on accident, man.
Well, hey.
I'm going to publicly apologize for that.
Damn.
Like, I loaned him a gun that, well, I'll just say it. I gave him a gun, and he was busy at the time. And the optic that you were running, I believe, was a Vortex.
Yep.
And I put this rail here and had shot it a couple times, but the screw was against the gas block, and it made it do some weird shit on you.
Yep.
And
because then I checked zero with a bipod.
I sighted in, and Joey was with me, and like we got a pretty good zero on it. And then he went and threw a bipod on this mount, which when he did that, put more pressure on this part, and it jacked his barrel up higher, and it was throwing rounds high, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, tech tip, make sure anything you M-lock into your rail is not touching either the barrel or the gas block.
Yep.
Like, the beauty of a free float design is that it stays free floated.
I mean, that was another myth busted right there. When it does a free float, it will do stuff.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
This is the magazine that's got those rounds that have been multi-chambered.
Here,
Have at it.
have at it.
So we'll get this in.
And this really isn't suggested either, because the bullets may be loose, it may be lower velocity, it may be...
How crazy would it be if one just goes off right now when I chamber it?
It might happen. I've heard it can happen.
Well, not that one.
Not that time.
So the abuse on all of those primers did not make it where they would not fire.
So
all the commenters who were like, hey, just try and shoot it again, it'll probably go off. Like, yes.
yeah, they will.
Yeah, probably.
They I think we're talking about something different. But I would be willing to bet another guy in the know that is very knowledgeable on this stuff. I had spoke with him and questioned him a little bit on this, and we were talking about it, and he goes, I asked him, what are some of the things that you would think of if, you know, and he goes, I'd put it through a chronograph, which a chronograph would probably tell the velocity changes that made right then from the bullet being loose and that type of thing, I'm guessing. Or even possibly if it had changed the primer in some way, because like a hotter primer will make a hotter
Powder burn.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
So that's a whole bunch of other junk.
there's a lot of nerdy stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But bang or no bang in my book, and chambering rounds did not seem to make a bang.
Nope.
The bolt being violently sent home did seem to make a bang somehow, some way. I don't
know if it was the firing pin or it hit in the back, but in that setup, it was in the chamber. So when it went over it, there really shouldn't have been anything get to the primer. So I'm guessing the firing pin had enough energy then.
Yeah,
because that's a pretty big hammer, like when you pull the trigger.
Shit. What if we wedge it? It won't stay, huh? We'd have to take an ejector out, have it mounted to the bolt.
I thought about that, but
and run it home.
It's still, but
It's the
actually,
same.
But when it goes over, it has to snap that over it, which is going to slow it down. If you took that out, you could do the same thing and just be more energy to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again,
that was just kind of an experiment.
Yeah. Hey, we tried it for you guys.
I would be willing to bet if we somehow did the same thing from out here with a captured firing pin, that wouldn't go like
one of the 460 HK with the spring on the
If we take the firing pin out and did it again, it won't go off.
Tomorrow.
So in an earlier video, just to kind of see what it would take to get one to go off from banging, how hard the bolt assembly would have to move to get the firing pin to have enough energy to make a round go off on its own. And without actually hitting the firing pin, I took the old mallet and from about here, wham, and sent it home, and it did go off. Kind of surprised me, but I thought if it was gonna, that would be the one. So now, just to make sure that it was the firing pin that did it, I'm gonna reenact it. I jammed a round up in here, brand new round off the shelf, and I've removed the firing pin and retainer, and so it's just a bolt with no firing pin in it. And I'll try to make this a good one and a little more force. Gotta hit it first. So I would say it was the extra energy on the firing pin.
Yeah. So force of the bolt face. We kind of tested that variable by itself right here with this. So that test where we did have the firing pin in and you sent it home, that smashing of the bolt carrier group home with the firing pin was enough to create enough inertia on the firing pin to do what it needed to do on the primer to make it go off.
Yep. So a hammer has as much as a
hammer.
Trigger hammer.
Yeah.
Hammer equals hammer.
But chambering alone doesn't seem to make an AR-15 go off. So you're going to need a hammer of some kind.
Yep. And you're going to need a hammer. So, final thought on it.
Final thought, I'm going to continue to keep my AR-15s loaded with the safety on.
Yeah, I am too. That's how I feel about it. Like I said, we may get into car wreck stuff just for curiosity and views. I don't know. But like, I'm gonna carry mine. I'm gonna keep it loaded.
Yep.
It's gonna be there in the house, wherever I've got it, because it's the probability of it happening is crazy to me.
And I guess, well, that's just a general philosophy in life. I guess I should go with the point of this video too. Repeatedly chambering around will probably not make it go off.
Yeah, I don't think it would. I think the only case that it might do that is if it had some weird primer malfunction.
Yeah. I mean, a lemon's going to be a lemon. Off shit might happen. Like, things are made by man. They're not perfect. All that stuff being same. But I don't think multiple chamberings of
I think, as we saw, I think you're going to have, if it is possible, you're going to have the round completely ruined by the bullet falling out of it or something. Like, the rim gone, wore off of it.
What was that word you used?
The rim?
No, you said you'll have the round completely what?
Ruined.
What word is that?
It's southern, like scoots.
Damn.
Tim taught it to me.
Okay.
Ruined.
Totally ruined.
Yeah, ruined.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, technically I'm south I-70. It's still the south. I can say.
Fair. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't even know where we were, but at this point, I don't think it's going to happen. I still don't.
All right.
And they're going to still say it's not drop safe. So that's what it is. So anything else?
That's all I've got.
Well, your responsibility to be ready for the fight never ends.